Hello and welcome aboard to this week's In Orbit, your weekly news station dedicated to all things space. Be sure to follow us to keep up to date with the latest news orbiting around the globe. Our first story for today: despite dire predictions just 6 months ago, space companies in general, and startups in particular, have survived the pandemic and its economic fallout in relatively good shape. In sessions at the 3-day Satellite Innovation 2020 conference that concluded October 8th, executives and other industry observers concluded that the industry fared better than expected in the spring, when the pandemic caused a sharp drop in overall economic activity. There has been some roadkill in the form of companies that filed for bankruptcy or laid off employees, but much less than expected. Some noted that many companies in the space industry in the United States were classified as critical infrastructure by the federal government and could remain open during stay-at-home orders. Many also relied on the government as customers, which offered a stability not found in other sectors of the economy. That positive outlook extended to the space startups. One challenge for space startups, though, has been raising later, larger rounds of funding. There is plenty of capital available still, but many investors will stay on the sidelines until they see how well the current leaders in the market perform with the money they have raised. If I was a betting man, I'd say put your stocks in space companies. Next up, Chris Ferguson, the former NASA astronaut who was to command the first crewed flight of Boeing's CST-100 Starliner commercial crew vehicle, has withdrawn from the mission for personal reasons. The company announced October 7th Ferguson, who joined Boeing in 2011 after a NASA career that included commanding the final space shuttle mission, was to lead the crew flight test. Mission currently scheduled to launch in the middle of 2021. A flight that also includes NASA astronauts Nicole Mann and Mike Fink. In an interview, Ferguson said he decided to step down from the mission because of family obligations. It was a decision that was not made lightly, he said. It surrounded what has really amounted to a year that is repeat with family obligations that I just do not want to risk missing. Ferguson will be replaced by NASA astronaut Barry Butch Wilmore, who has been training as backup for the first and second crewed Starliner flights. Something's gotta give. Up next, the U.S. military command that oversees logistics operations has signed an agreement with SpaceX and XARC to study the use of space launch vehicles to transport supplies in an emergency. Army General Stephen Lyons, commander of the U.S. Transportation Command, announced the agreement October 7th at a National Defense Transportation Association virtual conference. Transportation Command has signed a cooperative research and development agreement known as CRADA with SpaceX and Exploration Architecture Corporations, or XARC, to study concepts for rapid transportation through space. The possibility of using SpaceX vehicles to move military cargo was mentioned in 2018 by former commander of the Air Mobility Command, General Carl Everhart. SpaceX President and Chief Operating Officer Gwynne Shotwell at a defense industry conference last year said the company was talking to the Army about the possibility of using Starship vehicles for point-to-point transportation around Earth and deliver cargo in minutes halfway around the world. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds. Our final story for today: in-space transportation startup Momentous Space announced plans October 7th to become a publicly traded company through a merger with Stable Road Acquisition Corp., a special-purpose acquisition company. Since it was founded in 2017, Momentous has attracted dozens of customers by offering to transport satellites from the point where a large rocket drops them off in orbit to their desired orbital destinations. Momentous plans to demonstrate the capability with its Vigoride orbital transportation vehicle later this year. Through the merger and public offering, Momentous hopes to obtain capital to speed up development of its family of space tugs. Space companies have struggled for many years to raise capital, which makes it difficult for them to develop vehicles as quickly as large companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin. Mikhail Cockridge, Momentous' founder and CEO, told Space News, "We need to develop our larger vehicles at the same pace SpaceX is developing Starship and Blue Origin is developing New Glenn. With the capital we raised from this transaction, we will be able to move much faster on Arteride and Feveride to augment the capabilities of those big rockets to move stuff." And that concludes all the latest earth-shattering news for this week. Follow us to keep up to date with more exciting stories. Also, follow us on our other social media to support the content we make. Stay safe and see you in orbit.